What if after freezing your eggs, you didn't have to just wait and wonder? What if instead of leaving the clinic with a number, we retrieved 6, 8, or 10 eggs, you actually knew something meaningful about each one? Real, personalized insights about your own eggs. That's not such a hypothetical situation anymore, and it's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Jessica Badrov. I lead patient education and communications at Future Fertility, and I've spent a lot of time in this space, both professionally and personally. My own experience with fertility treatment is actually part of what brought me to this work. I know firsthand what it feels like to want more information than you're given and have to make big decisions anyway. One question I've seen almost everyone have is around egg quality, yet it's been difficult to get a straightforward answer. For a long time, there just wasn't a proven way for embryologists to look at an egg and understand its potential. Even the best clinics in the world couldn't tell you much about individual egg quality until you actually tried to use your eggs in an IVF setting. That wasn't a failure of care, it was a limitation of what science could see. But science is evolving. AI technology can now analyze images of frozen eggs and detect subtle patterns that even experienced embryologists aren't able to consistently identify with the naked eye. It can generate individual, personalized estimates, not averages, not age based statistics, but insight based on your eggs from your cycle. That's what Violet does. In this webinar, we'll start with the basics, what actually happens to your eggs after retrieval, and then get into why egg quality matters, what a Violet egg freezing report can and can't tell you, and how all of it might shape the way you make decisions about your future fertility. I've also asked a couple of experts to weigh in along the way, so let's get right into it. To understand egg quality, we'll start with the egg retrieval because it sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about. During the retrieval itself, eggs are collected from the ovaries. It's a relatively short procedure, and the aim is to retrieve as many mature eggs as possible from that cycle. That number, how many eggs were retrieved, is usually the first thing people want to know, which makes complete sense. But it's important to note, not every egg that's retrieved is mature, and typically only mature eggs are frozen. Maturity in this context means the egg has reached the right developmental stage. It's biologically ready to potentially be fertilized one day. So, your final frozen egg count is actually the number of mature eggs from that retrieval, and that's the number that matters going forward. Once mature eggs are identified, they're preserved through a process called vitrification. This hits the pause button at the current biological age of the eggs, which is one of the most powerful things about egg freezing. You're not just preserving eggs, you're preserving a moment in time. Think of it this way: a 28-year-old who freezes eggs today and uses them at 35 is working with the eggs of a 28-year-old. At this stage post retrieval, there's no fertilization, no embryos, and typically no assessment of any kind that tells you about the quality or potential of what's been frozen. You go home with a number 6, 13, maybe 20 eggs, and that number is meaningful, but it's just the starting point. What often gets overlooked is that eggs from the same retrieval aren't identical. Same person, same cycle, same day retrieved, but each egg is unique biologically and in quality. And that variation can matter quite a bit for the outcome if and when you decide to use your frozen eggs. So, can you know the quality and potential of your specific eggs? We'll talk about that next, starting with why egg quality matters so much and what's made it so difficult to assess. We've established that after retrieval, you go home with a number, and that number matters, but what does that number tell you about your chances of success with those eggs? That's where egg quality comes in. Maybe you've heard the term before, and it sounds like it should have a clear clinical definition. But even within medicine, it's more loosely defined than you might expect. Dr. Dan Naot is a practicing reproductive endocrinologist and infertility specialist in Toronto and co founder of Future Fertility. He explains this really well.
But just a comment about equality, because everybody talks about equality all the time. That word gets thrown around, but like there's no actual definition for it. I loosely define it as the egg's potential to become a baby. So if you were 45 years old and you did IVF and you got one egg and it turned into a baby, I would say to you, you're a 45-year-old with great egg quality. That's great. But it's pretty loosely defined. It's about the outcome. Okay. We don't have any clinical tests. AMH is a measure of quantity, or follicle count is a measure of quantity. We don't have a blood test or an ultrasound to tell someone if their egg quality is, average, good, or poor. We use general statistics, which is female age. That gets hammered to all of us all the time because generally that's correct. So as you get older, egg quality and egg quantity go down. But what you will see in the egg freezing world is they don't have much information other than their age and the number of eggs that they have.
As Dr. Naut says, in the egg freezing world, patients often don't have much information beyond their age and the number of eggs they retrieved. And as we just talked about, that still leaves the question about the potential of your eggs. When you freeze eggs, you're making decisions about the future, and the quality of your eggs now will shape what's possible when that time comes. Egg quality has a big influence on success. Higher quality eggs are more likely to fertilize, develop into chromosomally correct embryos, lead to a successful pregnancy, and ultimately a baby. So you can see why quality matters. But at the time of freezing, egg quality has historically still been an unknown, as there's no blood test or ultrasound that can measure egg quality. After eggs are retrieved, embryologists can look at them under a microscope and notice differences in how they look, but there hasn't been enough scientific evidence to show that those differences reliably predict what will happen when the eggs are used later on. That's been the reality until very recently, because technology is now making it possible to see things about your eggs that simply weren't visible before. In fertility care, AI isn't a single machine or robot making decisions for you. It's a set of smart tools that analyze large amounts of data, identify patterns, and turn that into information for you and your care team. AI technology has made it possible to analyze images of frozen eggs down to the pixel level and provide personalized insights into egg potential. What's even better is that nothing additional is required from you as a patient. Photos of your eggs are captured while the embryologist is already routinely observing them under the microscope after they've been retrieved. AI just gives us a new way to read them. Future Fertility has developed an egg quality assessment called Violet that analyzes these images. It looks at patterns learned from the world's largest database of egg images and generates something that hasn't existed before: personalized estimates specific to your eggs from your cycle. Violet reports go beyond general age-based success estimates to evaluate the quality of each egg and provide a personalized prediction of your chances of having a baby. Julian Felstead is the head of clinical embryology and scientific operations at Future Fertility. She has seen the evolution of technology in the lab firsthand. I've asked her what embryologists look at when evaluating an egg and how Violet egg freezing assessments support what she's able to tell someone about their egg's potential.
As a previous IVF lab director and clinical embryologist, I was often faced with calling patients following their egg retrieval and egg freezing cycle. When we would call patients, they really wanted to know how many eggs did I retrieve, what is the egg quality that I have. And I was quite limited with traditional methods into what I could actually tell the patient regarding their egg quality. When we retrieve eggs following egg retrieval, we assess each egg for maturity status. So whether or not the egg has an extruded polar body, which indicates that the egg is at a metaphase 2 stage, which then is ready to be fertilized at a later stage down the road, versus an immature egg, which is at a metaphase 1 stage or a germinal vesicle. So once we understand how many eggs are mature in a freezing cycle, we then go ahead and would usually freeze only the mature eggs for the patient, as these are the ones that can be utilized down the road. Should these eggs be needed for family building purposes. While there's certain dysmorphisms or features within oocytes that we can see, or eggs, that may give some indication with respect to their quality, these dysmorphisms are not well correlated with downstream outcomes. So being able to tell anything to the patient with respect to egg quality was very limiting. The only thing that we really have at our fingertips are sometimes online egg calculators, where it looks at a patient's age, the total number of eggs that they retrieved, and predicted live birth potential from this. But this treats every single patient that is 35 years old with 15 eggs, the same as the next patient of the same age with the same number of eggs. So there's never anything that's very personalized with respect to those sorts of statistics. However, with the addition of Violet and being able to apply AI oocyte assessments to eggs, this really opens the door for much more meaningful, personalized discussions with patients regarding what they have frozen following egg freezing cycles. So with the addition of Violet, an AI technology that's built on hundreds of thousands of images of eggs and their reproductive outcomes, so did they fertilize and become blastocysts, the AI can now look at a new image of an egg, and it can pick up details that are not discernible to embryologists. Either these details are too numerous, or they're tiny pixel level details or patterns within the eggs, or combinations of dysmorphisms that honestly the embryologist cannot well comprehend all these details and correlate them to outcomes. So the AI is able to do this for us and can assess each egg for each individual patient and give a better understanding of the egg quality for the patient. This opens the door to discussions with the patient where we can better explain the egg quality. Are these eggs, within quality ranges that we expect for this patient of this age when we do rely back to the online egg calculators? So if you're 35 years old with 15 eggs, this is within, quality and ranges that we expect for someone your age. Or, are there features or things within the egg quality that the AI is picking up where your egg quality might be lower than we would expect for a patient of their age, or potentially maybe they have higher quality than when we would have assumed. So Violet provides all these additional insights where we can have better conversations, but also add additional transparency to the patient. We can manage their expectations a lot more, and we're able to then, determine any next steps for the patient much more easily. So whether that comes from the embryologist and sort of sharing the details of the Violet report, or if that's, more of a clinical conversation that the patient can have now that the Violet reports are available in many clinics around the world. So the Violet report, again, will assess every individual egg, can provide a prediction of that egg's chances of developing to a blastocyst, which is a day 5 embryo, which we need for embryo transfer. And it can give us an understanding of the patient's individual and personalized chances of live birth. So within the cohort of eggs that they retrieved, is the predicted live birth acceptable for this patient? Is this what she has with, in her mind?
I love that Julian's perspective comes from the lab, from someone who has worked with eggs every day. And it speaks to something really important. This isn't about replacing clinical expertise, it's about adding to it. Next, let's dive deeper into what a Violet report looks like. Walking through it might help connect all the dots. Here's what a sample report looks like. Violet is designed to be personal to you, so you'll see your name, clinic information, and retrieval details at the top for reference. then you'll see your personalized insights. First, Violet tells you the number of mature eggs, scientifically known as oocytes, that were frozen and evaluated. In this case, you see that Violet analyzed 12 mature oocytes. Next, Violet shows your personalized chances of your eggs successfully thawing and developing into blastocysts. You're probably thinking, what is this word? A blastocyst is an embryo at the day 5 to 7 stage of development, which is an important stage to reach because at this point, the embryos have completed key developmental steps. This is also the stage at which they are typically transferred to the uterus during IVF. In this example, you can see a probability of 97% that at least one of these frozen eggs will develop to the blastocyst stage, and the most likely outcome will result in 3 to 4 blastocysts. So rather than wondering what might happen when the time comes, you have an individualized estimate to work with. This next section may or may not appear in your report. It depends on what your clinic offers. If you don't see it, that's not a reflection of your results. It's just a feature providing additional information that some clinics include and others don't. For those who do have it, euploidy refers to whether an embryo has the correct number of chromosomes. A euploid embryo is more likely to result in a successful pregnancy. So this section takes the blastocyst prediction one step further, estimating how many chromosomally normal blastocysts are likely to develop. It adds another layer of insight that can be really valuable. Violet then provides a personalized prediction of your overall chances of having a baby from these frozen eggs. And it goes one step further by comparing that prediction to the age-based average. So you can see whether your personal estimate is above or below what general statistics would suggest for someone your age. This is an estimate. It's not a guarantee and it's not a verdict, but it is individualized in a way that age-based statistics simply can't be. And for a lot of people, having that number, even knowing it's an estimate, feels like having something real to hold on to and plan with. The second page of the report is something most patients love to see: actual images of your eggs taken prior to freezing. Alongside each image, you'll see a prediction of that egg's potential to form a blastocyst, and depending on your clinic, you may also see a prediction of its likelihood of becoming a euploid blastocyst. Same person, same cycle, and you can see the variation between eggs right here on the page. This is what we spoke about earlier. Each egg is unique, and now with Violet, you can actually see that. And finally, the report includes educational resources to help you answer questions and understand the egg freezing process, so you're not left trying to figure out any of this on your own. One more thing worth knowing: if you do multiple egg freezing cycles, it's possible to receive a combined summary report pulling together predictions across all of your frozen eggs into one comprehensive view. Violet is designed to be taken home, referred back to, and used as a foundation for conversations with your care team. The information isn't meant to make decisions for you, it's meant to help you go into conversations more prepared, more informed, and with better questions. Which brings us to exactly that: how this information can support your decision making. Let's walk through some examples of how insights from Violet can help you through different scenarios. Deciding whether to freeze more eggs. One of the most common questions people ask following a retrieval: do I need to freeze more eggs? And it's often one of the hardest because without insight into your egg quality, it's difficult to know whether more eggs will be necessary. Violet can help you bring clarity to that. If you're satisfied with your live birth prediction, that might help you feel at peace with what you have frozen without the nagging feeling that you should be doing more. On the other hand, if your live birth prediction is lower than you'd hoped, knowing that information might help you feel more confident about doing another retrieval cycle. It won't make the decision for you, but it gives you a much more informed starting point. Feeling prepared for the future. When the time comes to use your frozen eggs, whether that's a year from now or 5, 7, 10 years from now, you won't be walking into that appointment starting from scratch. Your care team can use the insights from your Violet report to inform how they approach your IVF cycle, how many eggs to thaw, and what to expect from the process. Fertility care can involve multiple providers, different clinics, years between decisions, so that kind of continuity matters. Having documented, personalized insight into your eggs means that context isn't lost. It's with you the whole way through. Knowing what to ask your doctor about specifically. Following your egg retrieval, you'll have a lot swirling around in your head, and putting those thoughts into questions can be difficult. Violet gives you a starting point for those conversations to ask specific questions like, my blastocyst prediction is this percentage. Does that align with what you'd expect given my retrieval? My live birth prediction came back lower than I'd hoped. Do you recommend another cycle of egg freezing to achieve my desired family size? Are there things I should be doing between now and when I do another cycle to support the best possible outcome? Reducing uncertainty. Beyond the clinical side, there's something to be said for simply not carrying that uncertainty with you. Not knowing what outcomes to expect can be emotionally exhausting. I know this from my own fertility journey. But Violet helps reduce that uncertainty by adding clarity where there was once only guesswork. By supporting more personalized conversations and offering insights tailored to your unique situation, your journey can feel a little less overwhelming and a lot more informed. We've covered a lot of ground today, and hopefully it's given you a clearer picture of what AI makes possible in egg freezing. As you research or talk with clinics, here are a few questions to consider asking. Will I receive personalized insight into my eggs or only age-based estimates? How will my results be explained to me, and what support will I have in understanding them? What information will I have access to after my retrieval? And does this clinic offer Violet egg freezing assessments? You don't have to navigate this with only averages and statistics. There's more information available now, and you deserve to know about it. Understanding your eggs can help you move forward with more confidence and more clarity on your own terms. If you want to learn more about Violet, you can visit futurefertility.com or through our partner, freeze.health. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you found this helpful and informative, and I truly wish you all the luck on your journey ahead.